Hey folks, how you doing? It's Will here for another fight card prediction. Sorry it's a little bit late. I'm actually on vacation at my mother's house here, so I'm just trying to find the time to actually make this video here. She's actually away out right now, so I'm going to take this time to make a video. I'm going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 66 from the Mall of Asia Arena in Manila in the Philippines as the UFC heads over there for the first time. As Frankie Edgar and Urijah Faber do battle in a fantastic fight, which is two of the best kind of lighter weight guys there's ever been in the sport. Big fan of both guys, especially a big fan of Urijah Faber. He's got himself a tough fight here. A really good looking main card. Undercard's not looking so great. There's a few fighters I'm looking forward to seeing. So yeah, I'm going to get straight into this right now. So starting off in the flyweight division, we've got Nolan Ticman against Yao Jiqui. Jiqui, I think he's 1-2. Lost the final, I think it was, in the Tough China, which really isn't saying much. Didn't look great in that fight when he fought in the finale either. Nolan Ticman, on the other hand, was okay in his debut in the UFC. I think this is pretty much a fight for Nolan Ticman to really get himself into the UFC and get himself established in that flyweight division. He's got a lot of speed, his Ticman, good footwork. I think if you're playing counter move, I think as a guy, even though he's very priced at 5,500, I think as a guy you really should maybe have in your team. I know Jiqui's he's not very experienced MMA wise. Since his last fight, he's maybe gained quite a lot of experience. He maybe be a bit of a different fighter, but I like Nolan Ticman in this one, and I think he will stop him in the second round. So Ticman is my pick for that one there. Still in the flyweight division, we've got Roldan Sangcha-An against John Delos Reyes. Tough fight to call this. Delos Reyes, he's lost his two fights in the UFC, lost to Dustin Kimura, lost last time out to Kyoji Horiguchi, got caught with a beautiful leaping left kick to the body, which really hurt him. And facing Horiguchi is not an easy thing to do either. He just fought for the title and kind of gave himself a credible performance against Demetrius Johnson. I actually like Sangcha-An in this fight. I think he's got enough to win this fight. I think it's going to be really close, but I like Sangcha-An by decision. Moving on to the bantamweight division, we've got Ning and Guangyou against Royston. I like Royston in this one. I don't see really where he's going to hurt as Ning. He's a 4-2-1 record, very inexperienced as a lot of these guys are. Royston he has shown that he's got some decent grappling skills. He gets the fight to the ground, looks for submissions down there. I think his top game is just going to be a little bit too much there for Ning. So I am going to go another decision victory for Royston. Next up in the welterweight division, we've got Dhiego Lima fighting. That's a change. Dhiego Lima fighting Ling Jianliang. Jianliang, I think he lost last time out to Philipou. Big guy, hard to get down. Just a very stocky guy. Always comes forward. He's got a really good gas tank. Doesn't really specialise in anything too much. I think it's another tough fight for him here. Dhiego Lima's coming in here after a couple of losses, getting knocked out. I know he got knocked out by Eddie Gordon. He went down to Brazil and won a fight down in there. Faced Tim Means back in February at UFC 184. Stupidly tried to stand with him a little bit. Got caught in the clinch and got knocked out with a vicious elbow by Tim Means. I think it's a better fight for him. I don't think Jianliang, even though I think he has got a bad chin, has Lima, I think Jianliang hasn't got the power to really hurt him. So in that case, I'm going to go Dhiego Lima. Could get a submission late in this fight. I really like another decision victory for this one, so I'm going to go with that. Moving on, we've got Lipeng Zhang against Kajan Johnson. Now Kajan Johnson, he's a fighter who's been around the Canadian scene for a long time. I've seen his fights before he came into the UFC. Fought all over Canada, and he's fought in different parts of America as well. Coming off a pretty horrific loss last year at UFC 174, knocked out in the third round by Hyun. I think he was pretty much controlling that fight if I remember right, and got caught with a big shot halfway through that third round and got taken out. Zhang Lipeng here is a guy who I think did he fight in the final of the Ultimate Fighter? Yeah, he did. advanced to the finals, and this is the guy that he beat Brennan O'Reilly last time, which really isn't saying much. He lost to Wang Sai in the finale. I think Kajan Johnson, even though I think his chin is going a little bit, and if he gets hit with a decent shot, he will go down. I think he's got enough here. I think from what I'm hearing, he's going to be very tactical this fight. He's not going to. Sometimes he comes in a bit too quick and he tries to engage too quick. But I think in this one, I think he's going to be a little bit more experienced and use that to his advantage here. And possibly, I think he can get a knockout victory in this fight. So I'm going to go late second round TKO for Kajan Johnson. Staying in the lightweight division, we've got Hyun Bang against John Tuck. Decent fight here. Hyun Bang, I think he's won 9 by knockout, 8 by decision, lost 2 by submission, and lost 6 by decision. John Tuck's also coming off a loss. He beat Jake Lindsay in, I think it was a tough finale, if I remember right, last year. Yeah, I think he won by submission, not submitted him there. Faced Kevin Lee, who's a pretty decent grappler, got him down there and kind of used his length. He's quite a lengthy guy, is Kevin Lee, and he got the victory there. I like, yeah, this is a tough one. You know, I'm going to go Hyun Bang. I originally was going to go with John Tuck. I like the MMA Lab guys, and I think we showed last week with Bradley Scott against Dylan Andrews that there's a lot of good fighters in that camp there. Tuck, if this goes to ground, he's got a huge advantage, but Bang bangs pretty much. He's got big power, and if he hits you, you go down. I was going to go with John Tuck. I'm going to change my decision right now on the fly. I'm going to go with Hyun Bang by a TKO early round 3. Moving on to the main card, which is a pretty decent main card. We've got Mark Eddiva against Levan Makashvili. Makashvili is a guy who I've actually been watching for quite a long time. 6-1 record. I think he fights out in New Jersey. Decent fighter, decent grappler. He's got some jiu-jitsu skills as well. I think he works a bit with Renzo Gracie coming out in New Jersey. Mark Eddiva, he's coming off his loss against Kevin Souza, which isn't a bad loss because Kevin Souza is, for a featherweight, he's a hard featherweight to face because he's very rangy, he's got a lot of power. Eddiva's not the biggest guy. He could probably make 135 as well. I think that Makashvili's just overall, I think he's just better pretty much everywhere than Mark Eddiva here. Eddiva's decent when he gets taken down to get back to his feet. I think if Makashvili gets down, he's going to keep him there and maybe ride out a points victory. There's definitely a chance of stoppage here, so I'm going Makashvili. Next up, we've got Philipou Nover against Yu Chung Nam, Nam Chung Yu even. I like Nam is a very good fighter, and he's coming out the career, so he is, and he fought, let me see if I can remember right, Kazuki Takadome last time out and won a pretty close split decision. He's definitely a prospect as this guy. Doesn't have really much in the way of punching power. He's got some decent grappling when it goes down there. He has been submitted in the past. Philipou Nover, he's a guy who was in the Ultimate Fight. I think he was dubbed the next GSP like years ago, and he went out. I think he kind of, when he lost these fights, he went to Bellator, didn't do too well, lost to Marcin Held, lost to Tony Martin, who's in the UFC now, and he's kind of been on Ring of Combat. He's won 3 fights in a row, he's got himself better. I think he's another guy that fights out of the Renzo Gracie camp. This is a tough fight to choose. I think it'll go to a decision, but I am going to go Philipou Nover. I just think he's a little bit better everywhere over Nam, so I'm going to go Philipou Nover there. Next up is the fight, apart from the main event, I'm really looking forward to Hyun Lim against Neil Magny. Now, Neil Magny is a guy, I think he's on a 6-fight win streak. Nothing too spectacular in the way of people that he's beat. A huge guy, like a lengthy guy for the division, very, very lanky for the division. Wins over Kichi Kunamoto by submission, TKO'd William Macario, Alex Garcia, Rodrigo de Lima, Tim Meansy beat, which is a good win in that division. Yeah, interesting fight here because I'm a big fan of Hyun Lim. I think he's just a wrecker of men. We've seen it even in the fight against Tariq Saffiedine where he got totally outclassed. He showed the heart of a lion, got his legs pretty much kicked off and could barely walk, and just screamed and kept coming forward. I think this is going to be a fight where they're going to try and both use the range, and the one who uses the range better is going to come out on top of this with a victory in this fight, I should say. I see a lot of people picking Neil Magny, and if you're playing counter move, Neil Magny is 4,600. I think Lim is 5,000, and I can see why people are picking Magny, because he has shown a lot of improvements over the last couple of years, kind of 18 months. But I think that Hyun Lim is actually going to knock Neil Magny out in this fight. I think he's got freakish strength. We saw in the Pascal Kraus fight, I think Marcelo Ramirez as well. He hits you, you're going down. In that fight with Tariq Saffiedine in the round 5, I think the last 20 seconds, he hurt Saffiedine. If he had an extra 30 seconds, I fully believe he would have taken him out. So I'm going to go Hyun Lim, and I'm actually going to go a first round TKO for Lim. Moving on, we have Mark Munoz against Luke Barnatt. This is Mark Munoz's last fight. It'll be in his parents' home country, the Filipino wrecking machine as he calls himself, against Luke Barnatt, who really, he lost to Sean Strickland, shouldn't really lost. Definitely shouldn't have lost to Roger Narvaez, was winning that fight and just kind of fought really sloppily. But at this point, I think Mark Munoz is well and truly done. We all know about his sold Rain Training Centre. He's predominantly a wrestler, and his last 2 or 3 fights, I was at the Machida fight, and you could see he was shitting himself in that fight and didn't pull the trigger at all. I thought when he fought Jucao Carnero, I thought that would have changed. He came out and never threw anything and got submitted in the first round and looked terrible, and his head doesn't look in it, his heart definitely doesn't look in it. With him selling his gym, I don't see even going to say like his heart's really in it, but even going to the Philippines, I don't think he's got I just don't think he's got it anymore. I think he's a broken man. He's a fighter that anybody in that middleweight division I think would like to face. I think Barnett's length is going to catch him. I think he's going to knock him out. So I'm going to go Luke Barnatt with a second round TKO. On to the co-main event, we have Gegard Mousasi against Costas Philipou. Gegard Mousasi is always going to be one of the guys that kind of sits in between 5 to 10 in that division. Had a nice TKO win over Dan Henderson. Was a little bit kind of controversial there. Lost to Jacare before that. Beat Mark Munoz very easily in a fight where Munoz, another fight, he never did anything. Before that, he lost to Leo Machida, who just kind of outpointed him and was just too fast and used his footwork. In this fight against Costas Philipou, who's got decent punch power, decent striking, hasn't shown too much when it goes to the ground. Coming off a beautiful win right enough pretty much a year ago today, my birthday last year in Cincinnati, where he knocked out Lawrence Larkin. Before that, he got knocked out by Luke Rockhold, who can do that to anybody as we've seen in that division. And he lost to Francis Cormont as well. In this fight, I actually like Mousasi. When he faces these top guys, he goes to decision quite a bit. I think he's got a really good chance of finishing this fight if he can take it to the ground. So if anything, I think Mousasi can sub him. Do I think he will? No, I think it'll be a pretty comfortable 30-27 in his favour. But you can never count out Costas Philipou. He has that power. So I'm going to go Mousasi via decision. And on to the main event, which in my view is a super fight. I know a lot of people aren't saying it is. For me it is, at least. I think it's a great fight to make. Do I think it should be staged in the Philippines? No way. I think it's the fight that UFC 186 could have used. Actually, the guys in the Partner Shot podcast, if you don't listen to that, go listen. They actually never thought about it beforehand until James Lynch actually said if this fight was on that card, it would give it a lot more credibility. And now I know, like they said, going into a new country where they're breaking new ground, they want to put on a big fight. Still think this fight should have been with there, and them saying Demetrius Johnson, Kyoji Horiguchi on this card would do great, because I think the kind of Asian kind of countries, your Philippines as well, they like the kind of lighter weight classes, and they're pretty respectful guys, where some places aren't. They don't really like as good a fight as Demetrius Johnson is. Some people just don't want to stick around and watch him, and that's a bit unfair, but it's the people that pay the money. So, but say in this fight we have Frankie Edgar, Urijah Faber, former WEC champ, Frankie Edgar, one of the best lightweight champs we've ever had. A guy who has a heart for days, never gives up. In his fights, you're seeing improvements in his fight all the time. You can see little things with his footwork, which has always been fantastic. His lateral movement, he's got a great jab. He's always got the wrestling, and he has submission skills. He trains with Ricardo Almeida. I think he did a bit with Mark Serra as well. We've seen in the last fight against Cub Swanson where he absolutely beat the living shit out of Cub Swanson and finished him, I think, with like 3 or 4 seconds in the 5th round in that fight. Urijah Faber. I think it's a good time for Frankie Edgar to get Urijah Faber. If this was a couple of years ago, I think it'd be very, very competitive and hard to pick between. I've had a feeling for Urijah Faber in this fight. I don't know why. I think the speed is Frankie just has it a little bit, but I feel like Faber's kind of on the decline a little bit. He has wrestling, he has beautiful guillotine chokes as well. If Frankie kind of leaves his neck in there, if he goes for a takedown, he could catch him with this. I really like. I think this is going to be a lot closer than what people think. I'm not seeing too many people pick Urijah Faber. I'm tempted to go with Urijah Faber just to kind of go against everybody else. Plus, I am a fan, so I'm a little bit biased. But trying to kind of think about it a little bit more, Frankie Edgar kind of has the more skills. But Faber will make this exciting. He always makes fight exciting. He kind of got away with one against Francisco Rivera last time. I fully agree with that. But am I going to go Urijah Faber? Let me see. No, I'm not. I'm gonna be kind of smart with this. Sometimes I kind of go with people that I like, which I really shouldn't. I'm gonna go Frankie Edgar. I think it's going to be a decision victory. There is a chance he could definitely finish Urijah Faber here. I think it's going to be a decision all day long. So Frankie Edgar for me. So that's my picks for UFC Manila. I will be back next week for a fucking beauty of a card from Las Vegas, UFC 187. Until then, take care. Enjoy the fights this weekend when they come around, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.